Welcome to the Real Estate Show. From buying to selling and everything in between. Rochester's home for everything real estate. And now, your hosts from the Anthony Butera team of Keller Williams Realty, Greater Rochester. It's Anthony Butera and Jason Mancuso.
Hey everybody, welcome to episode 101 of the Real Estate Show. We have Anthony and Jason here. Fellas, welcome.
What we doing?
Ready for Halloween coming up?
Saturday,
No.
huh? On a Saturday,
What?
anyway.
I don't know, a couple Saturdays from
On
now.
a Saturday.
Okay. Yeah, I guess.
Real weird and freaky in the garage.
By himself,
Yeah,
which makes it weird and freaky.
what's your COVID trick-or-treating strategy?
Just throw the candy at everybody.
You got like a potato gun, launch it at people.
Yeah, I'm scattering candy across my front lawn, and I'm going to activate. The sprinkler system.
Love it. Yeah, that
It'll
really
make
put
great-
some thought into it, yeah.
I was looking at the CDC guidelines on how to do this. It is weird where, like, there's certain things that we can't do, or we
Yeah.
shouldn't do. But then it's like having a bunch of disgusting kids come to your house and touch all your crap and, give them food seems also super dangerous,
So don't profile me, but as far back as I can remember, Halloween night, when stuff was normal, was my favorite night to go out to a nice dinner. Had
Yeah.
the place to myself. Lights were off at my house.
Mhm.
No candy, no kids, no interruptions. So
So Halloween in college was by far my favorite holiday of all time.
I didn't participate in either.
For obvious reasons that we won't get into. What we got today? We got a little for sale by owner action. Mark found us an article.
Yeah. Oh, before we get into it though, well, like this has to do with it. I was just because I was reading the article, reading through, like, why we've never been positive really of for sale by owner, but is there any like situation or any state where it's just like, oh, there's a positive there? Like maybe outside of New York State or anything like that, where you're like, oh yeah, it works better in this way.
Well, like, I should probably beat up on it more than I'm going to, but like, yeah, I mean, if you're a realistic seller and you have realistic expectations, it's doable, right? The stats and the demographics show us that they're unrealistic sellers. A lot of times they're just tire kicking and they're putting it on the market for a ridiculous number. They're taking pictures on their iPhone 2. You could see their mother-in-law in the background sitting on the toilet, and
Hey,
a
people
filled
pay good
litter
money for
box.
that.
Yeah, like you could smell the photos that you see on for sale by owners. So like, I'm sorry, but like, I hate to pigeonhole a group, but you're unrealistic psychopaths.
Mm-hmm.
I think you make a point in terms of realistic, pricing and expectations, but I think what this article touches on is like realistic and practical procedures more than anything. And that's where you can, really lose the market if you're not either prepared or realistic as to how the process needs to play out. Because, yeah, I mean, okay, it is a seller's market, and in theory, sellers have the leverage. That doesn't just mean that you can, for lack of a better explanation, just be a dick about it, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I feel like that's kind of, and it's not to say that every person trying this is that, but it just a lot of times that's the approach and the way that it comes across. So, it can be a major turnoff if you're not tuned in and locked into a game plan to make it happen. Which that game plan is like everything that we do as realtors. So if you got the chops for that and you got the abilities, knock yourself out.
Yeah, I could tell you the easiest piece of my job is putting your house on the market. It really doesn't take much work, I swear. The drama and the bullshit from the day we accept an offer to closing, like, we don't bring you into those firefights, right? Like, our job is to keep you calm, and we try to mitigate any drama along the way. So I guess that's part of the delusion that plays into the consumer's thought process around for sale by owners.
Yeah.
They don't see that.
It makes us beat our head against the wall, like when we get somebody who, went the for sale by owner route and then calls us in the middle of the
For
transaction.
advice. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Do you want me to do you want me to go through? Well, this article is basically broken up into 6 pieces. You want me to go through some of it? We can
sure.
see what we think about it.
I mean, I think it's relevant to go through this just because we've talked about it before, and we've mentioned, like, hey, we're going to make you more money at the end of the day, and I guess it's kind of vague as to how or why, but this really addresses the how and why points to that. So at the end of the day, it's our biggest value is we're going to make you more money, net you more money after closing. So you don't need to worry about that 3 or 6% that you are. That's what the data shows. So this is like taking that data and giving the why and the how behind it. So.
All right. So the title of the headline is 6 reasons for sale by owners fail epically even in a hot market. And the first reason, I'll pull up. The first reason they go is she says bad pricing. Overpricing is a common mistake for sale by owners make. They price according to what they want to get out of the home, not in line with market values. They don't have a good grasp of how their home compares to others for sale, under contract, or recently sold.
Yeah. I mean, I wouldn't put that as like the number one reason, because I think, sellers also have the ability to get the data at their fingertips to know how to price it if they're reasonable. Mm-hmm. But, there's certainly a fair amount of for sale by owners out there that just, again, that unrealistic comment of, applying to the pricing of the home.
Well, I'll chime in and say, even the ones that are doing extreme due diligence and are looking at comps, they're only looking at sold comps, right? So if something sold, even if it just sold today, it went under contract 2 months ago. We're in a completely different market than we were in 2 months ago. Like, literally, it's changed so many times that 2 weeks ago, our market was looking pretty grim, and like, we had extended days in the market, and agents were doing delayed negotiations, and like, guess what? Nobody showed up, and we thought, okay, here's the shift. A week later, all of a sudden it's hot again. So you can, the risk is that you truly don't have an understanding of the pulse of today's market. You're not going to have you're not going to be able to call other real estate agents that have similar listings that just went under contract in the past 7 days, right? So that's the market we're living in. The comps you're pulling is the market 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 months ago to a year.
Yeah.
Right.
No, and I mean, I think pricing equals pulse.
Yeah.
That's a lot of it anyway. I mean, we know how to price homes to sell in an effective time period because we have the pulse on the market, because of all the what we're involved with on a daily basis. So I mean, a price this week could possibly, I mean, it may not be, most likely won't be, but it could be different next week or next month, more practically speaking. And just looking at hard data that's available to the general public doesn't necessarily give that pulse. So, all
right. The second thing she says here of why for sale by owner they fail even in a hot market. The second one she says is lack of marketing. She says the idea of marketing or for sale by owners idea of marketing reach might only be Zillow and a sign in the yard. The way sellers present information along with photos or not can be significantly impacted garnering interest and attention. These sellers don't understand the importance of preparation for sale, including staging and editing each space that will be photographed.
I'll
like
kind of
getting the mother-in-law off the toilet.
Yeah, I'll go on the other side of this and say, like, if somebody were good at marketing, like, I don't think that would be the reason today, right? I mean, how easy is it to go and throw a $50 boosted ad, through social media? So I think that, like, if somebody's good at marketing and somebody has a strong network, it does increase the likelihood. I don't think Joe, the World War II veteran, is going to be able to capitalize on that.
That's profiling, but it's okay. No, I mean, I think, marketing is kind of a general statement, and, it's important when it comes down to what we do. I mean, we have a full-time employee that handles all things marketing for us because, clearly you don't want us two meatheads handling it. And it's effective. I mean, it's like, I don't want to come across as trying to BS or anything, but everything that happens behind the scenes in order to drive the marketing for any property is effective. I mean, it's proven. It's able to get butts in the door, and that's really, kind of, I think it goes back to a big picture weakness of for sale by owners is they're shaving down the size of their market by not, using a realtor that has access to every, possible resource and website that your home can be on.
And I think to add to that, like, Jason, I know will agree with me, like, we have found more success the less that him and I have our hands on, right? Like, if it were up to him and I and left to our own devices to do, like, social media and marketing, it would be pretty scary, right? Like, we want to work hard so we can earn enough to pay the best at, you know what I mean? Now we have a full-time marketing person. Like, we acknowledge that that's a requirement. So that would play into, I guess, that, Mythbuster or whatever it is.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But I think also, like, even if you have the marketing background, for whatever industry, there's specific real estate, factors in play, with marketing a real estate listing. It's, it's not, marketing's not all the same across the board. So if you're coming from, whatever, just general advertising, as an example, and not aware of everything that goes with a real estate listing or general marketing in that industry, it's different. There's some nuances that are important that can be missed, that can affect you.
All right, let's see. The third one they got, no access. It's no surprise that most for sale by owners sell on their schedule. Showings happen when it's convenient for them, which might mean they're not available to show the home when a buyer wants to see it. Also, delays in responding to calls and inquiries mean the buyer will simply move on to the home that they can see, and the sellers or agents for listed properties who are happy to make a showing happen in a time-sensitive manner.
I actually never even thought about that piece of it. Like, so like right now, all my listings that are going live, like, that's a conversation up front. We have to have a ton of flexibility in our showings, and we're also telling them you cannot be home during those showings. Licensed real estate agents are going to be bringing their clients through. So I guess I never really thought about that aspect. But yeah, I mean, if you're working full time and your significant other's working full time, then yeah, that could be challenging. Buyers want to buy when they want to buy.
Yeah, I think it's something that's overlooked, like you said, Anthony. I think it's also one of the more important aspects of this conversation, in terms of what's going to turn a buyer or an agent for a buyer off. The market is very fast paced. The buyers have adapted to the fast pace of the seller's market. And if you're the seller who, essentially denies a showing, even if you're listed through a realtor, if you're denying showing requests, that's not good. And buyers are moving on. Like, they know that it's fast paced, and you kind of got one shot to really, like, impress or accommodate. And if you don't, the chances are pretty high that they move on.
Perception becomes reality. And if you're not, if these buyers have to work around your schedule,
yeah,
the perception is that you're not serious.
Yeah, right, exactly. All now,
right.
the other thing, like, specific to access, I mean, we use their electronically controlled, powered, whatever you want to call it, lock boxes that only realtors can access through an app on their phone.
Well, let me correct you there, Jason.
They got
Every realtor other than you.
they got rid of it. I got it on my phone now. You don't know.
Jason was still using. No, I know. Jason was still using the old device that was still from the '90s.
This thing's literally probably from 1985.
Mark, look at that thing. He just stopped now because they told him he can't use it anymore. The technology doesn't work anymore. So
it's always good to be the last person using something.
Yeah, and now on his free time, he's rewinding VHS tapes.
Very proud of that. But, so the way we explain it is you're not going to be home during a showing because it's uncomfortable. It's a turnoff. Again, as much as you may think you have leverage as a seller in this market, there's just also certain things that you can't do. And that's one of the golden rules in our opinion. So, we're telling our sellers, look, nobody's getting in your home unless they're a licensed agent. And, I'm not even going to say knock on wood because I'm that confident in our industry. We've never had a problem with anything, in terms of random people going through your home. And we'll
blows my mind.
Like that. Yeah, no, exactly.
Blows my mind. Thousands of sales later, literally nothing has happened.
Yeah, thousands of sales and tens of thousands of people going through people's homes that are random.
Yep.
And we've never had an issue.
I get women that catcall me and stuff like that, but other than that, nothing's stolen.
Right. So I mean, you just can't accommodate that as a for sale by owner. So I mean, you can deal with combination lock boxes. So now there's a code that the general public could have. If it gets out there enough, or you're letting people in, or I guess most commonly if you're aware of the subject is all right, I'll let you in. I'm going to go in the back and let me know if you got any questions. Even that is uncomfortable. It's just not the proper strategy. So that on top of just scheduling conflicts because you don't have this lockbox and don't understand that there should be access granted when somebody wants to see it and get out of the house. That's a big factor, and I think it's something that's definitely overlooked for people that are going down this road.
All right, let's see. So number 4, she says the reason not to do it for sale by owner or why it can be a failure, especially even in a hot market, is the inability to talk money. It can just be awkward to ask people you don't know all sorts of questions to determine their seriousness, motivation, and financial ability to move forward.
So awkward. First off, whenever...
Sorry, hold on one second.
You're good.
Hold on. All right, you hear me?
Yeah.
Yep.
All right. So the awkwardness starts from, for sale by owners, they stay home and they linger. And the craziness is that, first off, strangers are not going to offend you to your face. So every showing that's done where a homeowner is there, I've had maniac homeowners that didn't leave the house for a showing even though we told them to, and they'll call me and they'll say, hey, just want to give you a heads up. I stayed home during the showing, and I'm glad that I did because they could not stop telling me how much they liked the house and how beautiful it was, and they loved the way that we kept it. Every single time I follow up with the agent, and it always goes like this. They're not interested in the house. Your seller is crazy, and of course they said it was a nice house. Right? It's it's dishonest harmony in the moment because they don't want to offend you in your house. No one's walking in and saying, whose kids are those? They're hideous.
So true.
They tell me after the fact.
I mean, I guess it's kind of a good thing in society that, generally speaking, most people want to avoid confrontation. Mm-hmm. So if you're not interested in the home, or you want to give negative feedback, you're not going to do it to somebody's face. Yeah, I'll follow up with you. I'll let you know.
You gotta understand, you want to break demographics down. The buyers that go after the for sale by owners, the majority of them think they're going to skate around the market and get a good deal, and it's the exact opposite, right? So
the other thing this section of the article touches
You're muted. Muted. There you go.
The article touches on like, an overall like qualification process for buyers as, agent or, the seller if you're doing this. Like, you don't want to be in a position where you're just letting every inquiry into your home, not knowing if they're qualified or not, or, ready to buy or not. And that's a lot of what we do is just for our sellers, making sure that, buyers are coming in qualified, ready to go, and not just like, nosy neighbor type of thing or looky-loo or not qualified, just, starting off. I mean, on our end, it's a difficult thing that we have to do because we want to, develop relationships with people. And oftentimes there's like that first call or first step for a buyer in the process. And we are very firm in terms of like, okay, look at it. We're happy to help. We'll get you in this home. You at least got to like talk to us and tell us, where you're coming from, what your goals are, what you want to do. And then we go from there. And, oftentimes it's a requirement that, look at, okay, let's have you talk to a lender. Let's get the options, at least started, before we frankly go and waste a seller's time. If you're not going to buy in a year, it's not really appropriate to go, have somebody remove their kids, remove their pets, just because you like the look of this kitchen type of thing. So.
All right, got number 5 here, unrealistic expectations. Because for sale by owners think they know it all and can do it all, they might have unrealistic and unachievable expectations about the process. They might think the market should command a higher price than it is willing to bear, or that their home is better than its competition, yet they don't truly understand what the competition is.
Yeah.
Don't know what the competition is. They don't really know what the market is. They don't realize that if we put a listing out there and it hasn't sold in 7 days, unless it's a really unique log cabin in Mount Morris, something's wrong, and that something is the price, right? So for sale by owners, you will see them linger out there and sit for 6 months on the same exact price. And when you talk to them and you ask them why it hasn't sold, it's never the price. It's never the price. And I know it's not the price because I talk to the neighbors and they think I should raise the price. I mean, honestly, those are consistent conversations. And you have to sit there and you can't laugh, right? You got to be respectful, but like, that's the mindset. I mean, human beings are scary.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think that kind of, it's just a general topic that sums up everything we're talking about.
Mm-hmm. Well, this one, I don't think we've ever talked about. The last one, agent avoidance. It says for sale by owners willing to cooperate might think that's all that is needed to sell their home. Let an agent bring the buyer and let him or her do all the work. Basically saying that, for sale by owners, they expect that the buyer's agent is going to give them sage advice and take care of them the same way that they're taking care of their buyer, right? That, represent both parties.
I was going to touch on this if you didn't bring that up, in that, like, when they do come together, it's typically because there is a real estate agent on the buyer side. And yes, that is what ends up happening, unfortunately, because the buyer agent has a fiduciary duty to their client and their fiduciary duty to getting that deal closed. So unfortunately, they do have to cover both sides. But to that point, right, because most for sale by owners, the ones that are only half delusional, they will pay typically a 3% broker fee to whoever brings the buyer. So think about that. You're willing to pay 3% because you want to save 3% and not pay a listing agent.
Right.
I would have to be terrible at what I do if I can't get more than 3% over you, Terry. Right? Like,
yeah, or even that, or just provide 3% worth of value in terms of like, here's the ass ache you're heading down for the next 90 days.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I don't know. I've always thought that way in terms of like, I'm not going to do work around my house, knowing that I can't do work around my house because I'm an idiot when it comes to that stuff. I'm going to pay somebody to do it the right way the first time.
Yeah. You're getting me heated, Mark. I'm like starting to sweat.
I'm
Worked up.
This article.
The other thing here is like, and I hate to really touch on it because, us and our team, we're up for the challenge. We don't have a problem. If our buyer wants to see a house that's a for sale by owner, we take on the challenge. We're not necessarily happy about it because it is essentially more work for us if it goes down that path where they're buying it. But there's a lot of agents out there to just flat out like avoid it, and they'll make up something to convince their buyer to not be interested in that house.
Yeah. All right, guys. Well, don't do for sale by owner. Talk to Anthony and Jason at AnthonyTerrantino.com. Check it out there.
If anything, if you're thinking about it and you've paid attention to all this and you're up for the challenge, good for you. Do it the right way and don't shoot yourself in the foot. And if you make it happen, great. I'd be willing to bet that hopefully most people get the message to where it's like, all right, it doesn't really make sense for me to go down this road. So
and like you can't even raise your own children right. They pick their ass and their nose. Like you just stop it. Nothing's working for you. Don't think anything else is going to.
You got to bring our kids into this, man.
Well, that was you specifically. That was targeted.
I like that they picked their ass first. Ass to nose. Yeah, you got to make sure it's ass to nose.
Oh, good.
All right, guys, follow us on Facebook. Go to AnthonyTerrantino.com. Subscribe to the podcast. We're on YouTube, Spotify, or Stitcher, Apple Podcasts. Cool. Guys,
thanks, guys.
Thanks for listening to The Real Estate Show. Find us on Facebook, iTunes, Stitcher, and YouTube. If you're looking to sell or buy, talk to the Anthony Butera team of Keller Williams Realty, Greater Rochester. Visit AnthonyButeraTeam.com.